In this step, we're going to install the switch point, or the frog points that we made earlier in the build. And I'm going to show you a few techniques to make sure that they're as precisely placed as possible. When you drop them back in the fixture, you notice there's a little bit of lateral movement back and forth. And that's a result of there being clearance between the rail and the width of the groove that the rail's sitting in. And there has to be some clearance, otherwise it would be too tight to get any of the pieces of rail in and out of the tool. So to make sure that we got that precisely placed, I'll just do a quick check with an NMRA gauge. And what's critical, what I'm checking here is actually the check gauge. The check gauge is the distance between the inside of this edge and the inside of this edge. So to check that, we just put the tool down in the flangeway, we push it this direction so it's up against the guardrail, and then we rotate it in and out of the flangeway of the frog. You can see where that's going in and out there. There's no contact with that rail. You can feel it if there is. If I back this up, you can see now I've got extra clearance in there, more than necessary. So we push this forward, and that's a really nice fit in there. One thing you got to watch when you're checking that is this guardrail here actually is flaring out. You want to make sure that you're not out in this area. You want to be back where the guardrail's straight, and then catch the tip of the frog point. So we'll just do that again, and that's a good fit. We'll check this side, same thing. There we go. And that's nice. If it was getting interference there, if it was bumping, I would back this up a little bit, because as I back it up, I'm increasing the clearance. But it's not actually all the way forward. It's fitting quite nicely, and that's actually a pretty good rule of thumb when you're installing the points is to get them as far forward as possible, because that usually will give you the proper clearance. That's good. And we can check our track gauge too, but I can pretty well guarantee that that's going to be fine, because that's one of the beauties of these tools is they actually act as a track gauge. So now we know that when we're going to solder these in, we want to make sure they're as far forward as possible. Usually there's three different positions. It'll be either as far forward as possible, as far back as possible, or somewhere in the middle. But for this, for Code 83 and HO, I find that as far forward seems to work the best. There's one further thing we can check just to be double sure that everything's in the right spots. Is if you look on the standards gauge, there's actually a little tab on the side here. It says no go. And what that is, this tab is actually slightly wider than the standards for the flangeway width. So if this tab goes down into a flangeway, it means that it's too wide. So we want to check and make sure that this does not go down in. So what we do is we take that little no-go tab, we just confirm that it will not go down in there, and it doesn't on here. It's actually I'd have to push it down in order to get that in there, which is good. That means that our flangeways are not too wide. They're actually they're within range. So that's good. We can solder this in place. And that's pretty much the same process as we've been showing all along. A little bit of flux. I like to do a single solder joint first, make sure everything's held in place, and I'll do that right here. Again, it's very important that you ensure that it's sitting flat on the ties. You can do that by holding it down with a scribe. I usually just hold it with my fingers. And you can see I just popped it out there. There we go. Now it's nice and flat. Let that freeze. Now that that's in place, it's as far forward as possible. It's sitting flat, and I can finish the rest of the soldering. Last three solder joints here. There it goes. You see how that melted and just poured in underneath? That's exactly the result we're looking for. And I start with a little bit of a blob and just let it sweat. Now you can actually see it coming out the other side. In fact, it'll get hot enough I can do it over on this side. Look at that. Beautiful. That's exactly what you want to see. And the last one. There, sweat it again nicely on the other side. We'll let that, see it's still moving? take it away, let it freeze. Now our frog point is in place. Nice and precise, and we can do a final check to make sure, confirm that the results are what we're looking for. That's beautiful. No interference there at all. This side as well. And at this point you can actually check it with a set of wheels and see how it feels. I mean, it should be absolutely glass smooth. You should feel no bumping in there whatsoever. And same on the curved, on the diverging rows. I'll roll that through there. Nothing, not even a wiggle. And we're getting that kind of result for two reasons. One is we made really sharp frog points, and two is we confirmed all the accuracy to the NMRA specifications when we were building, and also the design of the tool is designed very rigorously around the NMRA specs. So as long as your wheels are engaged, everything's going to run nice and smooth. So that's pretty good. That's nice results. Pretty happy with that. Okay. That's nice. That's the result you're looking for. Nothing's going to derail on there. Okay, the next step is we're going to pop this out of the fixture. And this should come out quite easily. You should be able to just ease it out like that. If you have trouble, just start at the top and just slowly work your way out until it pops out. You don't want to make sure you grab on one rail and lift. It could actually rip it apart. But it should come out fairly easily. The frog point needs to be soldered down a little bit more. We'll see if we can get a tight shot of this. Okay. This is where it's soldered. There's actually no solder holding it down, so I can raise it up like that, and that's not going to be good. It's easy to solve that. You just flip it over, and we're going to put a little bit of solder on the bottom. So I'm just going to lay that down. Apply some flux. I like to do this on the fixture itself. I flip the fixture over. And the reason I like doing this is because it's nice and flat. So we're going to be certain that the tops of our rails are fixed, solid, and flat. I'm going to put a little bit of flux right in here. Like that. We're going to heat it up and get some solder on there. And the solder will actually wick in underneath the tie. And it'll fasten that down nicely. Now you don't want to hold the heat on here too long, because you don't want to break the solder bond in the frog point. This tip's looking a little bit dirty here. Time for a cleanup. Okay, so we put a little flux on there. I'm just going to get some solder going. Feeding it into the tip. A fairly good sized blob. Now I've got the blob on there. I'm going to heat it back up and just hold it there for a second or two till it wicks in underneath. There we go. Let it freeze. Don't worry if it's a unsightly looking thing, because you won't see it anyways. Now it's nice and flat and it's solid. Now I can't lift that up. That frog point won't be rising up inside there and get the wheels something to catch on to. It may be necessary to take a file and just smooth that out a little bit. That's easily done with a pass or two here like this. Don't worry about it being perfect, but we just don't want it to interfere when we install it on the ties. There we go. That looks good, nice and solid.